Joe Ducard here, and one of the biggest issues that I see my students and a lot of guys struggle with is that they don't have a lot of friends. And not only do they not have a lot of friends, they don't have a lot of deep and meaningful relationships. And I know because I used to be there myself as well. I know you have as yourself too, Mike. I got Magic Mike back with us again from socialcompetencemastery.com to talk a little bit more about this. And you know, I've changed my life around. I know you have as well. A total 180 degrees where I was very lonely, didn't have any friends, to a point where I do have a lot of great and very meaningful relationships in my life. The longest study ever done on happiness by Harvard, I believe it was over 70 years the study was done. They surveyed people throughout their lives and asked them constantly and got feedback and said, what was the number one thing that contributed to your happiness? And without a shadow of a doubt, it was quality relationships. Okay, not just men and women romantic. These are friendships, family, and other things like that. So we want to talk about how to cultivate deep relationships with people to have a more fulfilling and full and happier life. So the first part of developing deeper and meaningful relationships is to give more than you take. And this goes back to the golden rule, something I like to quote a lot. And the golden rule is to treat others how you would like to be treated, okay? So giving people love, giving people interest, you know, and doing things for other people. You know, you could definitely get taken advantage of, right? If you're doing this a bit, you know, and you see that it's not getting reciprocated or not getting appreciated, then yeah, you can pull this back. But it never hurts you to lead with being a good person, with giving value. I say give value up front, you know, and be somebody who is, you know, lending a supportive ear, you know, sharing some information, and really being a good friend to that other person and setting the pace for how you would like to be treated. If you do that, then people will be more likely to reciprocate, okay? And I was telling a story to my friends during my birthday, and I said I didn't have many friends. I didn't have many friends back in the day. And all I had really to give was my love and my attention and things like that. So I gave a lot. I gave a lot of value, and I did everything I could for friends. And, you know, some people reciprocated, some people were appreciative, and some people weren't, you know, and those wound up not becoming friends, and some people wound up becoming fantastic friends, okay? So you want to give definitely more than you take. You know, some people go into a relationship and say, what can I get from this person? What value can he give me? Why should I be friends with that person? Well, instead they should come in, give some love, be interested, you know, and just not look for anything back off the bat, right? Just be a good person, give some value, and then let the chips fall where they may. Then you can make an assessment after that, but come in with love and giving first.
Point number 2 that we want to talk about, if you want to have deeper friendships with people, would be vulnerability. You know, I know, you know, especially these days, right? You know, with the culture we live in, with Instagram and Facebook, everyone's putting, you know, the highlights of their day, right? Like, you know, like where they went and what they ate and what they bought and all that stuff. And there's something refreshing about, you know, being that person who's willing to be authentic, you know, like you're willing to talk about not just your successes, but your flaws as well. Because keep in mind, you know, at the end of the day, we're all struggling with something, we're all going through stuff, and people relate a lot better to other people with imperfections. So, not, you know, like, you know, for example, for me, you know, when Joe and I would have a chat, I would tell him exactly what's on my mind and what I'm feeling insecure at that moment. And at that point, you know, I can get proper feedback from Joe right away. And at the same time, you know, Joe feels like, oh, I'm not the only one who's struggling with this specific topic. So, you know, and mind you, pick and choose with who you open up to. You know, like you want to have, you know, what I call safe people in your life that you gradually, you know, start sharing your deepest. You don't want to, you know, meet someone for the first time and start dumping all your baggage and your deepest, darkest secrets, right? Like you definitely want to be vulnerable and reveal things in increments and over time, you know, as you know, you prove to each other that you're both good friends and trustworthy, then you can, you know, slowly but surely share darker and deeper stuff, because you know that person will hold your secret close to their heart and keep it safe.
And just to add on that, vulnerability is something that a lot of guys have a big issue with, okay? And I was talking to a buddy of mine on a podcast recently, and I said, maybe coming in with vulnerability may not always be the best way to meet women, right? You don't want to come in and be too honest about how nervous you are. If it's a joke, it can work very well. But if you show too much vulnerability, some women will jump on that. But definitely with men, a lot of guys come in with this ego. I'm great. I'm this. I'm that. And if you could just say, hey, look, this is how it is. I'm not always great, but I'm looking forward to some other things. And you could show a real, genuine side of yourself. It's one of the best ways to cut through all the bullshit and make a quality friendship, especially with guys when the ego gets in the way. Now, the third way to make more quality and deeper relationships and also to keep them is to keep in touch. This is something that I do really well, and I've got a lot of compliments from my other friends on it, and they always say that I love how you always keep in touch and you keep people around. I'll tell you what, man, if I meet somebody high quality, I've met a lot of people in my life, okay, especially now going out for over 10 years and doing the approaching and all that other stuff. I've met so many people. When I meet somebody who I really click with, somebody who I find special, and somebody who is a good friend to me, I make sure to keep in touch with them at all costs. I have many friends who live, I got friends, I was just texting, one's in Australia, one's in London, right? I text another buddy who's in London. I got friends who live on the West Coast, the East Coast. I got a friend who's in Thailand right now. I have friends who even live in totally different places, but I make sure to reach out to them. What's up, man? How are you? How have you been? Right? Or if I find a funny meme or a funny picture or a video or something, I send it to them. Just let them know that I'm thinking about them. A real simple way, bare minimum, to keep in touch with these people. Set a reminder on your phone when it's their birthday, right? At least once a year, reach out to some of these people, right? And more so than that, you have something funny, have them, whenever they pop in your head, that's a real easy way. Whenever somebody pops in your head, it's one of your friends, send them a text. Hey, I was thinking about you today. How you been? Right? Or, hey, how's that thing going? Right? Just reach out to those people. I actually have a note in my phone that says, keep in touch. And I have a list of 20 or 30 friends of mine that sometimes if I feel, okay, I should reach out to a friend today, it also makes me feel better too, right? If I'm having a bad day, I'll usually reach out to a friend. I could pop open this list and say, okay, who haven't I messaged in a while? And I'll go through and message that person, see how they're doing. Another thing too is I'll go through the messages in my phone and I'll scroll down to an earlier time, see people who I was talking to, said, oh, I haven't talked to him in a few months. Send them another message, keep in touch. What bothers me so much is, say you're in a town and you have a friend there, and then you leave town, or maybe you move for a bit or you're traveling for a while, and this friend now doesn't hit you up at all anymore. Out of sight, out of mind type of thing. The people who I know that do that, they don't have many friends. They don't keep many friends. When you find somebody quality, make sure you keep them as a part of your life, no matter what you do.
Tip number 4 that we want to share with you to help you cultivate a much more meaningful relationships with people is to support their goals. Like everyone in their life is working on something and they're struggling with something too. So this tactic is actually one of the best things that I've ever done to build the quality network that I have now. When I meet people for the first time, or kind of like what Joe said earlier, if I meet someone and I want to keep in touch with them, I always ask, what's something you're working on? What's something that I can support you with? And if I have the resource or the connection for that person, then by all means, sometimes all it takes is a simple email, a simple text message, introducing, like 2 people with each other. Like I had a buddy who helped me start my podcast. He just kind of messaged me out of the blue, and I said, like, look, I'm actually looking to start a podcast. This was 2 years ago, and he actually hooked me up with his course. He's got a podcasting course, and now I'm about to hit episode 100, and I'll never forget that friend because he asked me about something that I'm working on and something that's important to me, and he supported me. So best believe if like when the time comes and he needs a favor and he needs help with something, guaranteed I'll be there to support him. So a good question to ask with your friends is, hey man, like, how are you? Like, what's something you're working on these days? Like, what's something you're struggling with? What's something you're getting stuck? Maybe I can help you. And if not you, maybe you can refer that person to someone who who has the skills and resources that can help that friend. So definitely make that connection.
And the last point is to give unconditional love. And unconditional love is loving somebody for who they are, not who you want them to be. Okay? And this is something that I'm always constantly working on, right? Now, just by watching this video, you're somebody who's into self-development, okay? Somebody like me, somebody like Mike, where, we have a tendency to say, okay, what's wrong what can I improve, right? We're always kind of looking for these things to improve on and optimize and optimize and optimize. And the thing is, when we have that mindset of optimization, often we use that lens to look at our friends. And we'll say, oh, you know, he's eating really bad. Let me tell him about his diet. Or, you know, this one could dress a little better. Or this one, you know, seems always, you know, upset with his job. He should go do this instead or something. And we start to judge people and sometimes give them unnecessary feedback. So like you were saying before, it's a great question to ask. What are you working on? Is there anything I could help with? Always a great way to ask it. But sometimes if we're too judgmental, we don't understand people, sometimes we'll start to impose and push our values on them. And nobody wants to be around somebody when they feel that they can't open up and express themselves because this person is going to criticize them, is always going to have something to say, and is disapproving of them. If you feel disapproved of by another person, it's going to ruin any connection that you have. So you want to be non-judgmental, but you also want to be loving and accepting of people for who they are. And this goes back for sure for family, right? There's always the one family member who is going to eat like shit, right? There's always the one family member who's going to be really negative, right? There's always going to be the one family member who is always giving this person a hard time or is complaining or is this and that. But there's something beautiful in just about everyone. Some people, I mean, you really got to dig for that one thing. Some people. But most people, there's something beautiful in everyone. So focusing on those things, and the other thing's just accepting them, okay? I might have a buddy of mine and another friend of ours was kind of getting under his skin. He goes, oh, why does he do this? Why does he do that? It bothers me. I said, why do you let that bother you? And he's like, well, why don't you seem bothered by it, Joe? This guy doesn't bother you? I said, it doesn't bother me because I know who he is. And that's the way he's always act, and that's how he's going to be. And if it makes him happy, then that's okay. And to really think deeply, this is a little matrixy, but like, who's to say that your opinion of what's right is actually right? You know, according to another person's opinion of what's right, they're doing everything right, right? So it's just a selfish thing of saying everybody should look at it my way and they should all do it like this. So at the end of the day, everybody's just trying to do the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. And if they're going to be that way, they're going to be that way. You know, it's fun to talk about it sometimes, and I'll bust people's chops and say some other stuff. And some things just blow my mind. I don't understand why people do it. But, you know, you could ask them, but eventually you can just come to accept it, and that's who they are, right? So giving love unconditionally, accepting people for who they are, not who you want them to be, is a huge thing for getting along and developing a deeper relationship. And I'll tell you what, if they feel accepted around you, then they're going to love you. They're going to love you back and want to be around you. So those are our tips to develop deeper, more loving, and more awesome relationships with everybody in your life. So definitely take those to heart. Get out there and practice those. If you have any questions about this video or other topics or things that you want to cover, let me know. I'll link Mike's site, Social Confidence Mastery. I'll link that as well below. And don't forget to subscribe.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
Who's the greatest pickup artist of all?